The off-road revolution has started. Total is proud to bring you highlights of the Total Super Series 96. Andries, you've had your first taste of this new Total Super Series. Your impressions?
Well, you know, there's only one word to describe it, and that it's exciting. I think, you know, that I've never seen anything like this in my life, and it really, I feel that this formula, once it gets going, is really going to be very exciting. It's going to be a crowd puller. It is something that, you know, will do a world of good for motorsport and especially for off-road. And, you know, it's fantastic what the guys have put together here.
A new concept in South African off-road racing was launched at the first round of the Total Super Series 96 at the Gerytech testing grounds west of Pretoria a few weeks ago. The series is made up of 2 short course events at Gerytech, 3 stadium meetings at AA Kyalami, and 2 traditional off-road events, the Toyota 1000 Desert Race and Lesotho Sun Roof of Africa Rally. The concept is aimed at bringing off-road racing closer to the public, and Total South Africa have backed the series to the tune of 75,000 Rand, with quad racing one of the categories that make up Total Super Series 96. It was action all the way in the first quad racer event, with reigning South African long distance champion Wikus van Deventer on the Jojo Tanks Yamaha Banshee, proving he can win on short circuits as well as on marathon events. Wikus, you've won a lot of long distance races, but this is your first circuit win.
Ja, dit is my eerste keer wat ek het op Kyalami verlede jaar. Ek kon nie die pyp rook nie. Die ouens het my stikkend gery, maar ek het hom reg gekry hierdie keer.
What do you think of this track?
Dis 'n fantastiese, dis baie goed, dis baie goeie oefening en dis harde werk hierdie. Ou sal fiks word hierso. Dis nie 1000 kg hierdie. 4 van hierdie laps is erger as 1000 kg dink ek.
The cream of the crop of South African off-road motorcycling also turned out at Gerytech, and it was soon obvious it was going to be a wild day of thrills and spills. Each category had 3 races of 3 laps each over a 6-kilometre circuit. Catel superstar Alfie Cox was favoured to win the motorcycle category on the AGA Panasonic Pro Action KTM. He cut short a trip to France to compete at Gerytech and faced tough opposition from stars like Darrell Curtis, Errol Dalton, Alan Julian and comeback kid Jeremy Davies. It took 2 starts to get the first motorcycle heat underway, with Alfie Cox soon dominating. But behind the Italian there were some tremendous duels developing, with the big banger 500 class machines running together with the smaller capacity 250 and 200 class motorcycles. Off-road motorcyclists, they're a tough breed, but with paramedics and marshals busy all around the circuit looking after those fallen riders, the clerk of the course, Chris Geldenhuys, was forced to bring out the red flag to stop the race. But tough on Alfie, who looked to have the win in his pocket. Alfie, you came back specially from France for this Total Super Series race.
Yes, I didn't know the date before I left to go to France, and last weekend was the 11-hour day-night race in Florence. And Hazel, my wife, phoned me and said that Arthur said this race is on, and I know it's good for the sponsors and everything, and I changed the ticket and I managed to come back early, and I'm happy I've come back because it's been good for me.
Well, if your taste in off-road racing is for thundering heavy metal, the production vehicle category provides for all the action and more than you can ask for. Production vehicle class caters for 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive and standard buckies. They really work hard in those machines. It's a no-hold-barred race over circuit specifically designed to promote spectacular racing. Well, as you can see, off-road racing on a short course is tough on crews and machinery as well, but former Springbok rally driver Cassie Coetzee in the turbocharged Castrol Toyota Hilux was a man on a mission. He simply took a deep breath, rammed his foot down on the accelerator and powered his way into the lead. Coetzee and the Castrol Toyota Hilux were in spectacular form. And behind Cassie there was a terrific battle raging for second and third spot. Colin Frankenberg in the Range Rover and Cliffy Barker in the SVM Land Rover were really giving it a full go. Totally engrossed in their own scrap, Frankenberg and Barker could do nothing to catch the flying Coetzee. And a smiling Cassie poses with the delightful Total Super Series girls. Colin Frankenberg held off Cliff Barker to take second place, Henry Zamatin fourth in the Chef LUV, and Mark Corbett fifth in the V8 SVM. Didn't take the Special Vehicle Brigade category for space frame cars long to get into the spirit of the affair. Craig Draper with him now, Noel Smith and the Sandmaster got to grips with each other just after the start in the first heat. And while Draper and Smith got themselves tangled and then untangled, the rest of the field streamed past with Harry Roscoe in the Protea playing card Raceco taking the lead, with J.J. Volmans in another Raceco in second spot. Spectacular and going sideways. Roscoe was in the single-seater. Volmans had Citizen Motoring editor Andre de Kock in the passenger seat as ballast and loving it. Having to play catch-up, Craig Draper couldn't see where he was going, but at the front of the field, Harry Roscoe, known to his friends as Rocket, was free of these sort of problems. And a terrific battle had developed between Jan Hetteman, Linton Draper's mighty Raceco, and Maurice Perrain and the tiny Mighty Mag. In the grandstand finish, J.J. Volmans caught Roscoe at the very last corner with the two cars almost side by side as they crossed the finishing line in the air, with Hetteman dropping out with mechanical problems. Perrain took third place ahead of Rob Walk. Reigning national long-distance champion in quads, Vickers van Deventer was looking for a double in the second heat of the quad racer category, but it was brothers Peter and Paul Breckel who held the upper hand in the early stages. Further back in the field, there was a major tangle when Russ Page fell, and then Bruce Canoni also got into the act with a very heavy fall. And amidst all the rough and tumble, Van Deventer was soon out in front, with the Breckel brothers giving chase on the Brasco refrigeration Yamahas. It was entertainment all the way for a huge crowd, with riders falling like ninepins and close racing throughout the field. Quad racing is one of the fastest growing branches of motorsport in South Africa, and it takes a high degree of fitness. The strength involves skill and concentration to stay aboard those motorized bucking Broncos. And just look at him, he looks like he's out on a Sunday afternoon spin. Vickers van Deventer again brought the Jojo Tanks Yamaha Banshee home for his second win. Solid performance by the Breckel brothers, second and third. Derek Johnson fourth on the Yamaha dealer team entry, with Evan Hutchison completing the top five on the team Joburg Yamaha. After heat one of the motorcycle category had been red flagged after another succession of pile-ups, Alfie Cox lost no time re-establishing his superiority in heat number two. Behind him, a terrific tussle was developing between Errol Dalton on the big Lesotho Office Equipment Honda 500 and short course specialist Alan Julian on the Lesotho Office Equipment Honda 250. It was hugely competitive throughout the field, but Cox was in a class of his own. Julian moved into second place ahead of Dalton, with Darryl Curtis, Grant Bloomfield and Gary Lipchick battling it out for third, fourth and fifth spots. Gary Lipchick was under pressure from the high-flying Darryl Curtis on the AGA Panasonic Pro Action KTM 250. Errol Dalton was flat out chasing after teammate Alan Julian. Just look at that speed, doing well over 160 k's an hour. It was all to no avail, and at the flag it was a breeze for Alfie Cox on the AGA Panasonic Pro Action KTM. Alan Julian came home second to Cox, with Dalton third. Ron Bloomfield edged out Darryl Curtis to take fourth, with Graham McLaughlin, Gary Lipchick and Lance Trathui completing the top eight. Heat 2 of the production vehicle category produced another terrific race. This time it was former South African champion Cliff Barker in the four-wheel drive SVM Land Rover who got the jump on Colin Frankenberg and first heat winner Cassie Coetzee. In other class wars, Henry Zamatta in the Chev, Ralph Henderson, the Printers Roller Services Ford, and Andrew Burke in another Toyota Hilux. Look at him going there, had the bit between their teeth. It was the Frankenberg-Coetzee battle that had the crowd on his feet, with Coetzee muscling his way past the Range Rover to take over second spot in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. At the front of the field, Barker had everything under control, but Coetzee and Frankenberg were in hot pursuit, with Range Rover chasing Toyota. In the open SVM Jeep, Mark Corbett and his passenger were exposed to the mud and stones flying around, but were putting in another impressive drive. After Cassie Coetzee's domination in the first heat, Cliff Barker rewrote the script for Heat 2, taking the SVM Land Rover to an impressive win. The Castrol Toyota Hilux came home second, minus most of the rear bodywork, with Frankenberg third. Steady drives took Henry Zamatta and the Chev LUV and Corbett's SVM into the top five. Ralph Henderson, Andrew Birkin and Niels Lemmer completed the top eight. The action continues unabated. Heat 2 in the special vehicle category was again quickly developed into a free-for-all. Linton Draper's huge raceco tangled Willie Prince in the Orca, with both starting to go off farming. Rob Walk with Greg Weeble alongside him in the Super Pave raceco They crossed swords with Klaus Degner, who's having his first outing in the Chris Kunicke raceco, with Walk and Weevil adding bars to their roly-poly awards. Not fazed by the mayhem going on behind him, first race winner JJ Volmerans hit the front and flying along, with Craig Draper doing the early chase in the Castrol raceco and Degner hot on his heels. After getting back onto the track, Linton Draper was letting it all hang out, and the battered Super Pave car had rejoined the race, with Rob Walk starting to pick up places. He looks like a David in a pack of Goliaths. The mighty mag driven by Marius Perrin was up into fourth when he passed Draper. The trip to Geritech from Botswana was proven to be a fruitful one for JJ Volmerans, who took his second win of the day with intrepid motor reporter De Kock again sitting alongside him. Klaus Degner was third in the Kunicke car, with Marius Perrin impressive fourth and Draper fifth. With 2 wins already under his belt, Wikus van Deventer was looking to make it a hat-trick in the final heat of the quad racer category. However, the Breckel brothers, Peter and Mark, out on the Brasco Refrigeration Yamaha Banshees, had other ideas, along with Derek Johnson on the Yamaha dealer team Banshee. And prior to the Geritech outing, van Deventer was regarded purely as a long-distance specialist or marathon specialist, but had already laid those thoughts to rest. After his easy wins in the first 2 heats, van Deventer was this time under serious pressure from the Breckels and Johnson. Really flying, nothing between the Breckels, Johnson and van Deventer in the early stages, and van Deventer had to work flat out to get his way past Breckels to move into the lead, but behind him the battle of the Breckels was already hotting up, with Mark ahead of his brother Paul. Plenty of other interesting battles developing further down the field, and the huge crowd kept entertaining a boiling hot summer afternoon with the sun beating down on Geritech. And when van Deventer hit the front of the field, he could not shake off the Breckels, who engaged in their own personal war. Paul had Mark in his sights, and brotherly love is put on the back burner when it comes to racing. The only ingredient missing was brother Peter, who dropped by the wayside with mechanical problems. Van Deventer was under serious threat from the Breckels, with the race developing into the best quad event of the day. A third win and a hat-trick was on the cards for Wikus van Deventer when he managed to put a little bit of daylight between himself, the Breckels and Johnson. And with the race running out, for those doing the chasing, it did not look as if they'd catch the little man from the Northern Province unless he made a mistake. The gap between van Deventer and the second and third place riders was gradually increasing, and looking remarkably fresh and clean, van Deventer was again starting to stamp his authority on proceedings. In the middle of the pack there was some fierce racing going on. Riders who were the best of friends off the circuit were going at it with no quarter arse, or given with every place, gained or lost important in terms of championship points, and of course the all-important prize money. And behind van Deventer there was a change in running order, where the Breckels were concerned, with Paul moving ahead of Mark, who looked as though he was starting to tire just a wee bit. On the final lap, van Deventer had his third win for the day in the bag. Paul Breckel had managed to reduce the gap slightly over the last 2 laps, but there was never any doubt that the man from Lichtenburg, Wikus van Deventer, was in control, and underlining once again that he is the top quad racer in South Africa at the moment. A terrific day for van Deventer and the Jojo Tanks Yamaha Banshee team. Wikus took overall honours on the day, with Paul Breckel second, Derek Johnson third. A very good result in the final heat moved Mark Breckel into fourth, with Evan Hutchison in fifth spot. Wikus, a hat-trick of wins today. You seem to be uncatchable.
No, it's actually not so. The second heat, Peter Breckel picked a rock up and threw it on my hand. I think it's a little, I don't know, it's broken, but I tell you that's so I can't pull a throttle. But that's good for me for 3 races and I win.
Tough men, these motorcyclists, now for the final heat of the motorcycle category. Alfie Cox also looking for a clean sweep in the AGA Panasonic Pro Action KTM. At the start, Cox found himself caught in the middle of the pack, and it was Jeremy Davies in that big 4-stroke you can hear above the others at Castrol KTM 620, powering his way into the lead. And the one ride in recent seasons to consistently challenge Cox's off-road supremacy, Davies spent a season in saloon car racing after a serious leg injury and is on the comeback trail. The Davies lead was short-lived as Cox came steaming through the pack to power his way to the front of the field in typical fashion. Daryl Curtis on the second AGA Panasonic Pro Action KTM moved into second place, but it was Cox who was taking the race by the scruff of his neck. After campaigning in international competition in Europe last year, Cox has simply taken up where he left off before going overseas. He won the recent Sun City 400, that's the muddy one, and here he is totally dominating the first short course event in Total Series 96. Behind Cox, a pack of riders included Curtis, Davies, lots of talent there, short circuit specialist Alan Julian, Errol Dalton, but there was no ways they were going to keep the tiny Italian in check. And even at this early stage of proceedings, it was obvious the other riders were racing for second spot. That's high-speed stuff, racing over those Durotech jumps and riding a motorcycle at those speeds in these conditions. It's no place for the novice rider or the faint of heart. Cox was continuing to pull away with Daryl Curtis in a spot of bother and Jeremy Davies under pressure from Alan Julian on the Lesotho Office Equipment Honda. That's the big one. Great spectacular racing this. Stephen Ainsley leading brother Mark at the front of the 200 class field, and you can't afford to make a mistake. And Marcel Blichnout was off falling when he got a little out of shape there. No harm done, but at the front of the field, matters were hotting up. Alan Julian on a charge in the Lesotho Office Equipment Honda. He moved into third when he got past Jeremy Davies and slipped into second spot when he got the better of Daryl Curtis. And the battle of the Ainsley brothers was still raging, but at the front of the field, it was all Alfie Cox from Natal. He had the race in his pocket. It was just another masterful display from this tiny Italian who has never put a wheel wrong. This Iron Man of enduro motorcycle racing just gets better as the years roll on. There was a late flurry from Lance Trethewey and Alex Vowles, but the traditional winners, Bubbly, was reserved for Alfie Cox. Behind Cox was Alan Julian, who grabbed second place in the overall results. Daryl Curtis was third, and Grant Bloomfield and Gary Lipschick making up the top five after some superb racing. Right, well done, Alfie. 3 in a truck.
Yeah, I know. This is different racing to what we do, you know, in South Africa. We had one of these series last year here at Durotech, and I think it's good to bring the spectators to show them what we do on off-road motorcycles, because that is our biggest problem. How we battle to find sponsors, because we're out in the bush all day, nobody can see us, and if we can bring the spectators to us here, like we're doing now, I think it's going to be made for good racing, and a couple of safety points that we have to sort out, but I'm sure that's just our first meeting, and I think it's going to be good in the future.
They don't come tougher than Alfie. It's now a case of coming out fighting in the final event of the production vehicle category. Cassie Coetzee, Cliffy Barker, Colin Frankenberg, all in line for overall honours for the day. For second heat winner Barker in the SVM Land Rover got the jump and the rest of the pack at the start. Here's Coetzee in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. He's in third place behind Frankenberg's Range Rover, and if you think short course off-road racing isn't hard, just look at Coetzee fighting the wheel with some tremendous race cam shots from the Toyota. It was still Cliffy Barker out in front in the V8 Land Rover with Frankenberg second and Coetzee in third spot. More superb race cam shots from Coetzee's Castrol Toyota Hilux as he tried to find a way around Frankenberg, who was having an impressive second outing in the Range Rover. And Coetzee was battling to close up on the Range Rover on the tighter section, but Cassie was about to address that little problem and just put his foot down the long uphill stretch opposite the start-finish line, and turbocharged Toyota Power took him into second position, and here he comes. And there he goes. Now he's looking for the leader as that Castrol Toyota Hilux really flies. Magnificent camera work there. Cassie moving up into second place and ready to put the pressure on race leader Cliffy Barker. These three have been having a real dogfight all day. It was V8 power and four-wheel drive from the Land Rover and the Range Rover against the turbocharged two-wheel drive Castrol Toyota Hilux, with all three drivers having an absolute ball. This is off-road racing at its most exciting, with Cassie Coetzee still in a charge with his sights set on a second win for the day. When last did you see race vehicles on full power in four-wheel drifts with feet flat on the accelerator pedal? Barker, Coetzee. There's Frankenberg just found closely bunched, packed crowd on the bank with the start-finish line on their feet, and with the advantage of four-wheel drive, the Barker Land Rover at the edge in the tight and wetter sections of Trevor Wheeler's circuit. He's the man who prepared it. Coetzee was relying on tremendous acceleration at top speed out of the corners and on those longer straights. Behind the leading trio, there was more action from Henry Zamatin and Mark Corbett as they fought out another tight duel, and it was all eyes on the Barker-Coetzee battle as race distance started to run out. Both drivers were squeezing everything they could out of the vehicles, with long travel suspensions working overtime, and this sort of spectacle just has to catch on with motor enthusiasts. Overworked suspension, Barker and Coetzee battling, and there's plenty other action all around the circuit with heavy metal on the charge. Cassie Coetzee throwing the Castrol Toyota all over the place in a last lap effort to haul in Cliff Barker and the Land Rover. Catching's one thing, getting past in these conditions another kettle of fish. When push came to shove, could see simply muscled his way past the Land Rover and into the lead with only a corner to go. A marvellous win for Cassie could see, but once again superb racing throughout the field. 2 wins in a second gave Cassie the overall win on the day. Overall winner for the day, Cassie, but you had to work for that one.
Yeah, it was not an easy one the last heat. Believe me, when Cliffy and another or Frankenstein get out in front of me, yeah, his name is Frankenstein, eventually, but he made a mishap on the first, second corner, so I passed him, so now it's Cliffy. And luckily for the nice suspension on the Hilux, we did it and we overtake him.
But what about the grip? You seemed to stand on the line when you took off from the line.
Yeah, you must realize it's only a 2-wheel drive Hilux buck here, and it's not a 4-wheel drive like the Range Rover. So besides that, I think we're quite happy.
That's one determined off-road man in the final heat of the special vehicle category, almost ended in tragedy when Video Sports Television senior producer and cameraman Jan Hatzer was seriously injured when hit by the Draper Plantar racecar driven by veteran race rally and off-road driver Jan Hetterman. The race was stopped after the accident, with J.J. Volmans awarded the overall win on the day after 2 wins in the opening heats. Jan Hatzer well on his way to recovery, but the public is warned that action sequences that follow, including shots from cameraman Hartz on the start-finish line, could affect sensitive viewers. A sad end to a tremendous opening round of the Total Super Series 96 at Generatech, with JJ Volmans a delighted overall win of the special vehicle category. JJ making a habit of this.
Roger, I don't know, it's my first time, I'm really enjoying it. The course is very, very nice. I'm having a good day.
The second round of the Total Super Series 96 will be at AA Kyalami over the Easter weekend. That's on the Saturday, April the 6th and Sunday the 7th, with arena trials and a junior motorcycle category adding to the action.
I think after almost 10 years being around motorsport, Lady Luck eventually turned her back on me last weekend. You have all these near misses throughout your career. You're always out there trying to get the best shot, getting as close to the action as possible, and I think this time got a bit too close. It happened so fast, and in that split second you've got to make a decision, and this time it was the wrong decision. And yeah, I would like to thank everybody for all the well-wishing, and I hope to see you all back at the tracks around the country very soon.